as well. Obama used the phrase legalization is not in my vocabulary first, I think, and Mr. Kerlikowske uses it at nearly every occasion now. I would invite folks to tune in this coming Sunday. We're going to have, Peter Moskos. He's a former Baltimore narcotics officer. He's written a book himself. He'll be our guest at 7 p.m. Sunday here in Houston on the Century of Lies show, 90.1 FM on your dial. And it'll be a live show. He's also a member of my band of brothers, Law Enforcement Against Prohibition. And it's kind of neat that the LEAP members are being called upon more and more to speak to so many organizations across this country, even the governmental bodies and so forth, looking for that expertise from that time spent in the trenches of the drug war.
Right. They were actually featured, 3 members of LEAP were featured in an article, like a 5-page article from The Nation magazine recently as well.
Yeah. Right, and it's about time they were given the respect, because they know that this hasn't worked. They've seen the horrible failure of it over the years, and many of them, I think even most especially the director of Law Enforcement Against Prohibition, Jack Cole, he spent 13 years as an undercover narc. And he talks about the thousands of people he sent away for tens of thousands of years for microscopic amounts in many cases. He even told me about in the early days when Nixon called for the drug war to begin, that they would make a bust and find an ounce of cocaine, throw in a big bag of flour, shake it real good, and suddenly they would have a major felony. Yeah. There's much to regret in this drug war.
Well, Dean, if the drug czar won't answer your question about pointing out successes of the drug war, I will.
Well, go ahead, sir.
I think that if you ask any one of the billionaire Mexican cartel leaders if he thinks that the drug war has made him a success, he would say yes.
He was. Shorty Guzman used to be a corn farmer. Now he probably shovels $100 bills bushel.
Hey, let me ask you something, Dean. The word legalization isn't in Gil or Obama's vocabulary, but do you or Norm Stamper or anyone think that decriminalization is in their vocabulary?
I think it is. I mean, we hear the stories that the legislature in Mexico passed a decrim bill. I haven't heard yet if Calderon has signed it.
Not as of yet.
But he was instrumental in the crafting of that bill, I understand.
Right.
So I think it's just a matter of time. Now, insofar as will Kerlikowske and Obama decrim, I think they're going to have to at some point. I keep hearing the thought that he'll have to wait for a second term because there's bigger fish to fry. I don't think there's a bigger fish to fry than taking away $500 million a year from Osama, taking $20 billion away from these barbarous cartels, and taking away the reason for which these violent street gangs, most of these street gangs exist here in America. That's a pretty big fish to fry all right there.
Okay. Definitely. Well, it's a pleasure. It's been a pleasure working with you. Thanks so much, Dean. Do you want to give a shout out to your radio station here in Houston?
I do. Once again, I will urge folks to, just go to my website, drugtruth.net. There at the top of the page, it'll point you to KPFT. You can listen online, or you can listen Tuesday. I don't have that slide. Wednesdays, 11:30 to noon, is Century of Lies. Sundays, 7 to 7:30 p.m. is, I got it backwards, but anyway, 7 to 7:30 is my other show. I just switched time frames on those.
Got it.
And then each afternoon, Monday through Friday at 4:20, you can hear the 4:20 Drug War News. You guys keep up the good work. Inch by inch, we're getting there.
Okay, thank you, Dean.
Thank you.
If we keep at it long enough, Dean and we will talk ourselves out of business, maybe.
I hope so.
Well, we've got to take a break now, so you'll have to wait to see what I was about to say.
First of all, they can't see me through, the filter of, I am a kid. They have to be able to relate to me as a person, as an equal. Somebody that I feel like is close enough to me that would not judge me. It'd have to be somebody that, that I'm comfortable with. It's definitely a matter of being able to just see them as, a friend, to relate to them.
the dean was talking about legalization not being one of the secrets of successful political leadership is not only being in front of what's going on and leading, but realizing that you can't be so far in front that no one's going to follow. And many presidents in American history, dating back at least as far as John Adams, have found that if they move just a step too far away from the front of Congress, everything just falls apart on them. And the problem is, a lot of times, leadership means keeping a low profile, not saying anything, and doing a lot of quiet selling behind the covers. The old image I used to have when I was a kid was, look at a duck when it's swimming. And ducks seem to glide across the top of the water gracefully with no effort at all. But if you duck your head beneath the surface, those legs are just paddling frantically. All right. And the problem is, the president can move no faster than he can push 535 congressmen and senators. And if he moves a step enough out in front of them so that they're no longer staying with him, he's dead. And right now, and I think maybe some of the best examples are to go back and look at what Franklin Roosevelt had to do in 1939, 1940, 1941, as the Second World War was building. A lot of times, successful presidents have had to pull back and do some encouraging, but then wait for Congress to catch up enough so that they could take the next step forward. And right now, I mean, we've still got one idiot out of Illinois that has introduced a bill to raise the mandatory minimum for selling high-potency marijuana to 25 years. Right now, Congress, most of the members of Congress, are still scared to death that if they even whisper the word drugs, they'll lose the next election.
Right, that's especially true.
And that's the biggest roadblock in front of Obama. Now, Obama's operation with all of his websites and his organizations and everything else